I think your I think your camera, either you shut it off like me or your camera's blocked. I don't know. Did you turn your camera off? No. Huh. Yeah, it's not there. That's weird. Yeah, your picture's not there. Hmm. But anyways, while you're figuring that out, this is the third episode, and the title. There we go. There we go. There's that handsome guy.
Yeah, there it is. All right, got it, man.
Now
We are live.
the title of this episode, and I want to ask you this question. Are you still buying silver, West Texas?
No, yeah, not very much, but I'm still buying.
$65 an ounce. It just hit 66, and then we had a little fallback today. But can you believe that, man? That is crazy.
That is crazy.
$66 per ounce. I mean, 66, could get you almost 3 ounces not too long ago when silver was at $14, $15 per ounce about 2 years ago.
Yeah,
You get almost 3 ounces of silver out the door. Now you're lucky if you get an ounce.
this is it. The last 2 weeks right here, I've picked up
Hey, every
three
little
half
bit
dollars.
counts.
Yep.
Every little bit counts. That's all that matters, man. You know, I been buying a lot of 5 ouncers. That's been like
Yeah.
my go-to as of lately. And this week, so far, the only purchase I made was the well, I just showed it in the video earlier today was my MG Crown vintage 5 ounce bar. And
No.
that's what I bought this week, pretty much, and I mean, it's silver's just crazy, and partly I only bought that too because I seen silver still climbing, and I was like, "Oh, maybe it'll fall back a little." I don't wanna splurge this week because of how, volatile the silver market was this week. It was, like, all over the place, so, I just purchased that and, see how it goes. But, I mean, yeah, man, it's crazy. It's crazy what's going on.
It is, man, and that's kind of one of the reasons why we've been holding back a little bit too. And not only that, it's Christmas, and I'd just feel bad about myself if I went out and bought a bunch of silver at these prices and shorted the kids on
That's a big
stuff
reason
that
too
they
why
would want.
that's a
Yeah,
big reason too, I mean, not only for us, but, a lot of people in our community, this is the hardest time of the year to stack because, it's Christmas time. It's time for other people.
oh yeah,
But, especially when you got kids, man, that's why that was another reason why I only bought 5 ounces this week, but, hey, if you buy 5 ounces, 10 ounces, 100 ounces, 2 ounces, half ounce, as long as you're consistent, that's all that matters. But, I don't know if I told you, but I went to, Virginia. That's why I haven't posted a video in, like, a week. I did that 5-ounce bar video on
yeah,
Thursday last week, and then we left Saturday morning to go to Virginia. We went to Williamsburg, um, for, like, the Busch Gardens. They had, like, a Christmas event there. We stayed in, like, a timeshare, and we were there until Wednesday. We left Wednesday morning. So we were down there, and, when I go on vacation or travel, I always like to check out the coin shops. Well, unfortunately, in Williamsburg, Virginia, there's only 2 coin shops in that area. I mean, I coulda went to Virginia Beach, but I didn't feel like driving an hour. I already drove 7 hours to get to Virginia. I didn't wanna drive any more than I had to. So,
yeah.
the one coin shop, I forgot what it was called, but I have to look it up. But they were open, dude, only 2 days a week, Thursdays and Fridays. How the
That is
hell? Yeah,
crazy.
and I don't know if that has anything to do with the current silver and gold market because like I said, maybe you ran out of money and you could, because the prices are, a lot of coin shops they're just buying. They're not selling the amount they're buying because people are selling their metals because of the prices are so high. So I don't
Yeah,
know if it's because he was like, you know what, let me close down and be only open for 2 days, so people don't keep coming here and giving me all their stuff. Or maybe he's just getting older. But I thought it was so weird that he was only open 2 days a week, and then there was this other coin shop. It's called Williamsburg Coin and Stamps, I think. Now, I've gone to his shop a few times, and the reason why I go there when I'm in Virginia, and especially in the Williamsburg area, is because the guy's like 94 years old, right? He's an
yeah,
old timer, but he mostly deals with like numismatics, higher end collectible coins and stuff. It's not a place you want to go for bullion. Um, but I go there, and that's where I've gotten a lot of commemorative half dollars. He had some beautiful commemorative half dollars. I bought quite a bit off him every time I was down in that area. But I was like, when I was down there, he opened up on Tuesday, and it was awesome because it was just before the day I was leaving. So I was like, let me go check him out. He was like 5 minutes down the road from where I was staying. I was shocked he was still alive. First of all, God bless him, because it's been like 3 years since I've been to his shop. But yeah, he's still up and running. But anyways, I was like, "Hey, do you have any bullion?" And he's like, I don't have much bullion. I have a few things." And I was like, "All right, I'll bring it out." He said. So he brings it out in the tray, and he had a few eagles. He had a few 1 ounce generic rounds. He had a 10-ounce Scottsdale bar. And then he had a few 1 ounce vintage rounds. He had a 100 gram Geiger. He had
yeah,
a 1 ounce A-Mark stackable bar, which are vintage. And I said, and at this time, this was just before silver. This was, like I said, this was Tuesday. So silver was at like the 63, 64 mark. This is just before it jumped up to the 65, 66. And I was like, all right, what can you do on that A-Mark bar? Because I really wanted it. And then I also asked him on the 100 ounce, 100 gram Geiger, because
yeah.
those are cool. Those Geiger bars are cool.
They are.
And he's like, "Well, I paid 65 for it. I need to get at least 70." And I looked at him, I was like, I know the A-Mark bars, vintage, but they're actually pretty common. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, and plus I've been getting rarer stuff for spot, or just $1 over spot. So I said, "Well, if you paid 65, how about I give you 65? You break even, you know what I mean? And you get your money back." Because he's not, like he said, he's not a bullion guy. He's,
yeah,
numismatics. And he's like, "Nah, I can't do that." And I knew he was bull crabbing, because you paid $65 for the ounce before silver was 65. And this was for all of his generic stuff. His Eagles, 65. Everything was 65. No, everything that he paid 65, and he was selling all of his 1 ounce for 70. And I was like, "Well, I'll give you 60. I'll give you 65 for it." And he's like, "I know, I paid 65. I paid 65." And I just knew, I was like, "Man, dude, if that's what you're paying," I said, When I sell my stack, I'm going to drive my ass from New York all the way to Williamsburg and sell you my silver. Because if you paid 65 per ounce before silver hit
Be-
65, you are
yeah.
the only dealer I know that's paying above spot price with these current prices. Because, like we talked about in the last episode, every dealer's buying stuff back, two, three, four, five, six, as far as $10 back per spot. So I knew
Uh,
he was lying. But I was like, yeah, I'm going to bring my stack to you when it's time to sell.
that
Eh,
that 50 ounces I sold was it last week or week before? He bought it at
What was it, 4 or 5
$4.
back, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
$4 back a spot.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So
They're all, and earlier today I was on the phone with Silver Gold Stack Attack, and we were talking about, you know, the silver price and what these dealers are paying back on spot. I mean, they're paying quite a bit back. But I was just like, the guy kind of rubbed me off the wrong way. I'm like, and then he was trying to push these commemoratives down my throat, these commemorative half dollars. And he
yeah,
had some beautiful ones, but he was asking too much. And I was like, well, do you have any ones that are ungraded, that are in good condition, that hasn't yet to been graded, or not worth to be sending out, but it's still in mint state? And he's like, yeah, yeah. And he brought out some beautiful commemoratives because obviously I wasn't buying the bullion there. He was asking way too much for the little bullion he had. Especially now at the current prices. I mean, you can get a lot of silver from coin shops at spot, maybe a dollar or two over spot now. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Because the prices are so high. But
Oh, they got to try to move it. They can't sit on it forever,
that's
you
what I'm
know.
that's what I'm saying. So he brought out these unslabbed, good condition commemorative half dollars. He had Stonewall Mountain. Um, uh, he had a Vermont, I think it was, two Texas, which I was gonna grab one at a decent price, and I was gonna send it to you because you're in Texas, and these Texas commemorative half dollars, I don't know if you've seen them, but they're freaking beautiful. He had a
Yeah.
34, which was the first year, and then he had a 38. And he's like,
Um, I think we got a graded 35 or 36.
"Yeah, dude, they're nice. They're
They're
nice."
they're nice. The one
But
I've always wanted to get is that old Spanish trail. That
yeah,
sucker
there's the
pretty rare.
oh yeah, dude, they're big money. But he was like, yeah, here, he showed a few of them. He probably had like 10 of them, in total with the Texas. He had I think it was Vermont. He had a Stonewall. And I was looking at the Texas and the Stonewall. And he's like, I said, what's the price on these? And he throws the book up there, the dealer book. And he
Yeah,
says, "Kid, look, search that coin up for me." Because, dude, the guy's 94 years old. I'm like, "You're going to trust me to search up the coin?" He's like, "Yeah." And he could barely see, mind you, but all of a sudden he knows that the coin is MS63. And he
yeah,
says, "Look, go to the MS63 category and tell me the price." And I'm like, "You think this is MS63?" He's like, "Yeah, yeah, or at least MS60." I was like, "No." And I looked at the price and he's like, "Yeah, give me 100 for that Stonewall." And then the Texas, 100 and a half. And the other Texas, the 38, he wanted a buck 25. And I was like, they ain't mint state. They're in good condition,
yeah.
but they're not mint state. They're not MS. They're AU, low AU. They're nowhere near mint state because if they were mint state, and it's one thing like with certain coins, like it wouldn't be worth sending out Roosevelt dimes or certain common year Morgans if they're going to come back in MS61 or 62. But commemorative half dollars, they're rarer, they're harder to find. So, even if you had any MS, even if it was an MS60, any dealer would be sending them out to get graded because it would make the coin even worth more.
Worth
So
more.
yeah, so I knew for a fact they weren't MS because he would have already sent them out. So I tried to tell him, dude, these are AU. Oh, I know what I got. And I wasn't trying to be a mean, I wasn't going to be,
Yeah.
an a-hole towards him. But I was, telling him, I'm like, these are, and he was way off on the ballpark. You know, I'd be willing to pay 150 for all three, for the Stonewall, for the two Texas, the 34 and the 38. I offered to pay him a buck 50 for the three coins, and he's like, nah, nah. And I was like, all right, man. But his I don't know how he stays in business. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've bought some beautiful stuff off him the times I've been down to Williamsburg. especially when it comes to commemorative half dollars. But I don't know because he's the only guy working there. He can barely move around. He can't see what he's doing. You know what I mean? It was like, man, time to pack up your doors. And then
Yeah.
he's paying like supposedly he's buying bullion more than it's worth. So I don't know. But we couldn't make any deals, which was sad. But and then he brought out another bin of uncirculated, like very circulated half dollars, commemorative half dollars, and he had some uncirculated Stone Mountains. No, circulated Stone Mountains. And I found a few decent ones, but he wanted 75 for those. And I was like, at that
Yeah.
point, I might as well give you the 100 for the AU Stonewall, you know. So, we didn't make a deal. But I was thinking of you, man. I seen the Texas commemorative, and I was going to buy one. If I got it at the right price, I was going to send it right to you.
You see what Ben Stacking says? The dealer told him that they were only buying 45 ounces per person right now.
That's what I'm
That's kind
saying.
of crazy, you know.
We talked about this last week, and
Yeah,
then earlier today, I talked to Silver Gold Stack Attack about it. And everyone's pumping this, silver and want to see it climb higher and excited for silver at 100 an ounce and blah 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 blah. And listen, yeah, I want to see silver go higher, but in time. It's
yeah.
been freaking 7 months, and we passed the 30s, 40s, 50s. Nearly, we're almost over with the 60s. I guarantee you, before New Year's, it'll hit 70. That's just how it's been going. It seems like it's getting quicker. It seems like it's even moving quicker because May, June, and July, it kind of teeter tottered between 30 and 38, 30, 30 and 40. So, but now, I mean, we almost jumped $20 in a month.
Yeah.
We went from 47 to now 60, 65, $66. We're almost at $20 within a month it jumped. Just before I got back on YouTube and I went to that coin show, it was my first video back on YouTube. Silver per ounce was $47, and that was end of October, October 25th, I think, a few days before Halloween. So climbing so quick, it's become so volatile. So you run into the problem where dealers are, not going to have, when silver hits that mark, people are coming and selling, and dealers are just buying the stuff but not selling the same amount of as the amount of they're buying. So, it's like we're in purgatory. It's like we're in
Huh.
silver purgatory, man. When you think of it,
You know,
it's
and
bad.
and one of the ways the dealers were keeping that cash flow coming in was selling to the refineries.
Hmm.
And I mean, I don't know if that's still an option for them, because from what I hear, that the refineries are
Well, they're getting
backed up.
picky now. They're getting
Yeah,
picky. They're backed up. They're slowing down. I mean, it's like I said, we're sitting in like silver purgatory. We're right in between. It's bad for dealers. It's bad for stackers. I mean, because what's the whole point of our precious metals when it comes to time for us to sell and we can't sell it?
we can't
You know what I
sell it.
mean?
Yeah,
Or we have to travel to 100 different coin shops and dealers to sell our stack. I mean,
to sell
it's
10 ounces at a time.
yeah. I mean, and listen, when I go to exit, that's what I would do. I wouldn't bring my whole stack and sell it all
Yeah,
at once. I would bring, 40 ounces here, 50 ounces here, 100 ounces there. I would part it out in time because you can also, it's just better that way. But it's just going to come to a point where if it keeps going this quick and if it doesn't stabilize, you know, and no, you're not going to be able to sell it, or they're going to be paying so far back on below spot, which seems been the case the last month. The more silver's jumped up, they went from spot to $2 back to $3 back to $4 back. I mean, we're sitting in lingo here. The dealers are buying tons of it, can't move it as quick as they're buying it. And then you got the stackers that are not buying as much as they were because either
Yeah,
they've been
we had to
stacking for
cut
a
back.
long time or the prices are so high and they can't, just like too, another thing you're going to start seeing, and I think we're already seeing it now with like mints with like germanium mint. Remember how the
Yeah,
germanium mint 10-ounce bars were so common
yeah,
and we'd be able to get those cheap as hell, right? Well, I don't think these mints are going to be making too much bigger pieces now. I think they're going to cut down with their 10 ounces. They're not going to be making as much of them. Their kilo bars. They're going to be pushing out more 5 ounces, and then they're going to probably release newer bars like 3 ounce and 4 ounce and 2 ounce, um, because I mean even the bigger pieces aren't moving too much right now. And then another problem that these dealers are running into too, and I can see why they're paying when the price jumps up like this. I can see why they're not paying spot. They want to pay a little back because say, okay, you see what's been going on with silver. Say it hits 70 before New Year's, and they
yeah.
just purchased that silver from somebody at spot, at 70. And then it finally stabilizes and settles at say 55, 50. You know what I mean? Yeah, they're gonna sell it, but they're gonna take a hit on that.
They're gonna take a hit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one thing like in the past where they bought silver at $19 and then it dropped to 18. All right, it's a dollar. But if
No,
they,
if it drops now, they're gonna be taking big hits.
mm-hmm.
You know. Check this out. I got a little mail today. Haven't done a mail call yet on it, but
Oh, look at that!
yeah.
Who sent you that?
Mark Samuelson.
Is that a Hoffman round?
It's a Hoffman.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
Damn! God bless that guy, dude. That's awesome.
Oh man, I don't know if you've ever talked to him, but this guy's got some serious and he stacked some serious vintage.
Shit, I'm waiting for someone
Not
to send
yeah.
me a Hoffman and Hoffman.
Um, he's he's a antiques farm dealer.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, 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 man. The guy's awesome. He's really
That's
cool
a
dude.
that's $100 round right there. That's $100 bill
Yeah,
right there.
I mean it's I was so I was man I was just beaming when I opened it. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
that's
pretty cool, man.
dude. That's awesome. That is awesome. That's freaking. It's not like just a generic round, or even if that,
Yeah.
if someone sent you that, that'd be great. But I mean, that's a
Oh,
freaking,
I've been wanting a Hoffman for a
yeah.
couple years now, and the only place that I could get them would be at coin shop in Midland, and
Mhm.
the guy that owns the coin shop, his son-in-law and his son work in there, and then whenever they see anything like that come in, they snatch it up for themselves.
Oh, yeah, I'm the same way. When I frequent my coin shops and I see any vintage there, when there is vintage, I stack it. I'll grab it all up, and then another trick to find vintage silver. So, a lot of coin shops, a lot of people don't know this, but when you go into your coin shop, ask for their junk bin, ask for their spot bin, or maybe
Yeah,
they'll have it a dollar over spot. Just say, hey, a lot of them will keep it in the back and they'll bring it out for you, or they'll have it maybe in the front. But a lot of like my coin shop, they'll bring it. They have it in the back and then they bring it up. Um, it's a bin pretty much with stuff. Yeah, just random stuff, generic rounds, generic bars. You can
Coal
find,
Eagles.
yeah, yeah, you can find like the video I did today. I found a Boston art bar. It's like an anniversary or something from 1973. And then I found a Johnson Matthey 1 ounce bar in the original uh, plastic. And
Nice.
I paid spot for them. I paid spot for them. I mean, and they're vintage bars. The art
Yeah,
bar. Um, and you have the Johnson Matthey. Now the Johnson Matthey 1 ounce, they're the pressed Johnson Matthey 1 ounce. They're pretty common, but it's still a vintage bar. But yeah, man, I hey, what's up, Joe? Um, I yeah, I'm the same way. I walk into a shop and uh I see vintage. I'm on top of it. But real quick, I noticed today, and this is after me and Silver Gold Stack Attack were talking too, but you get the emails when silver hits 66, by like AppMax or SD Bullion or all these sites.
Oh yeah.
They say silver's at its all-time high. Silver's
Uh-huh.
at its all-time high, $66. Now, if we're going by number, yes, silver's never been $66 per ounce. But silver is not at its all-time high. You know when its all-time high was, West Texas?
What's that? What's that?
1980, when
Yeah.
silver hit $50 an ounce. In 1980, with inflation, $50 in 1980 was like $225.
Yeah.
Today, $50 today is like freaking 38 bucks. Silver's all-time high was in 1980 when silver went from what, $2 to $50. That's the biggest jump silver's ever made. That was the all-time high for silver ever. Yeah. Silver's at $66 an ounce. That's high number wise. But $50 in 1980 was like $225. So,
Yeah,
when they,
I mean, that was a lot of money back then.
yeah, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So silver's all time high. It's not now because of inflation. You got to figure inflation. When silver hit 50 in 1980, that was a huge freaking deal. That's silver's, when it's really hit its all time high, going by inflation. If you're going by it now, you know what I mean? It just doesn't, I laugh when I see the emails. Silver, all time high, all time high. No, it's not. It's not.
I mean, you think that I just Googled it real quick. From what this is, the average individual income in 1980 was 11 right around $11,000.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, if silver at 50 would have been huge, you know.
Yeah. $50 in 1980, granted, I wasn't around then, but, hearing stories from my parents or, grandparents and older people that's been around and during that time. 1980, I mean, $50 would fill up your shopping cart and more, you know.
Probably more, man. I mean, that
Yeah.
was
Jack Staggs, how you doing, man?
man, that's crazy. Here's another thing that's I found crazy. That's crazy. I'm looking at the Kitco chart right now. It says 64.90. Well, 65.02 is the asking price.
Yeah.
Barrel of crude oil for the futures is 55.84. An ounce of silver is worth more than a barrel of crude oil. That's crazy, man.
It is
And
crazy, man. It's
that's
insane.
why we're running so slow right now. Here in the Permian Basin, man, we're one of the biggest oil fields in the world, and they're not. It's not drill, baby, drill, because they don't want to go out there, and it's kind of like the same thing with silver. Only this is the lower end of the prices. They don't want to go out there and drill all these new wells if they're only going to be making $55 a barrel on it.
I don't blame them.
So, but yeah, that's I never really thought about that until the other day.
Yeah. I mean, I don't blame them. It's like, if you're working your job, right? And
Yeah,
you're making, say, $20 an hour, and then they come up to you and they say, "Oh, we're doing pay cuts. Um, we need you to do the same work, but for 15 an hour."
Yeah.
You're going to say, "Screw that." While prices are going up, and you still need to feed your family, you were making 20 an hour, and then they got to say, "Oh, we want you to work the same hours, same days, holidays, all that, but we're going to drop your pay $5." Who the hell's going to do that? If anything, you should move up instead of go down.
Yeah. Well, that's people are, there's a lot of people talking about this administration, that administration, and the bottom line is what's really hurting the people of this country is the cost of living wages haven't kept up with inflation for
No.
years. For years
Yep.
we've been behind.
Well, I mean,
And
it's time where fucking we started adjusting our wages to everything else. I mean, I know it's never going to be identical. Obviously, it can't work that way where our wages match everything else. But it's got to be close. I mean, look at it this way. Look at it. Um, I'm just reading this comment that was hidden.
yeah, it
So,
popped for some
so
reason. It popped up on my laptop.
so stupid. So stupid. Anyways, you go back to the early 1900s when Henry Ford introduced the assembly line. It was a big thing for industry. He said, "We're going to change the 7-day work week to 6-day work week, and I'm going to pay all my employees $5 a day." Right? $5 a day was a lot of freaking money back then.
Oh yeah,
I think it was either $5 a day, right, or $5 a week. I'm pretty sure it was $5 a day. If anyone knows, comment down in the chat. It might be $5 a week now to think of it. Early 1900s, $5. People made cents. They made 5 cents an hour. So it was probably $5 a week. But $5 a week, yeah, I think it was $5 a day. Either way, they worked and they made $5 per day or per week. That was a $5 gold coin, man.
yeah,
That was a $5 Indian or a $5 Liberty. You were working for something. You were getting something for your money.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mrs. just did a video yesterday about that, like what would happen if we went back to a gold back standard, for the dollar.
A
It's
lot of
not,
good. A lot of good.
yeah, it. She says that it started, with all the funding of wars, that there wasn't enough gold reserves to fund these wars, so they went off the gold standard, so they could just print at for print it out of nowhere, print the money out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, and then it's just crazy to think of it. Now that we're working for nothing practically. There's no the government. All that needs to happen is the government and the banks to say, hey, your dollar's worth nothing now.
yeah,
And we got nothing. Only that's why it's so important. I tell people, while you have that green or whatever blue, whatever color you want to call it now, but while you have that, fiat, put it into things that's worth something. Put it into things that you have. What I mean? There's two types of riches. There's money rich and there's asset rich. And
yeah,
I'd rather be asset rich than money rich. Properties, houses, precious metals, you know what I mean? Investments, like stocks or IRAs, things that are making me money, things that are holding its value or going up in value. things that are protecting your wealth. You know what I mean? Yeah, obviously everybody needs cash. They need a little emergency fund. They need some cash stashed away for, emergencies, for, bills, whatever. But all that saving, that all that extra money that you're going to save, put into real estate, put it into precious metals, put it into things that you can see, things that you can hold, things that you can benefit from. Because, right, if you just you work and work and work and like look at this as an example. What did they say 5 years ago? If you had a $500,000 in your account by the time you can retire, you can live off that for the rest of your life until your dying days. Well,
Yeah.
now it's like, you need $1 million or more.
Or more. Yeah, definitely more.
You know what I mean? So it's like, it just continues to go up. Now, if you were and you retire, say you retire and you got $1 million in your account. That $1 million in 20, 30 years by the time I retire is probably going to be equivalent to 50 grand. You know what I mean? Who knows and how it's going in 30, 40 years. If you have $1 million, that might be worth 50 to 100 grand.
If it
So you
keeps
might
going
as
the way it's going, yeah.
yeah. So it's important to put your money into assets, into things that are gonna benefit you and your family and preserve your wealth, because houses will continue to go up, precious metals will continue to go up. um Investments, I mean, there's high risk and low risk, but it's better than storing cash in a bank where they can just invest your money and they don't give you nothing for it. lousy
Oh, they don't.
lousy pennies on your dollar. I think for every $100 in the savings account, whatever I have in my savings, because every month I get like an interest payment,
Uh huh.
and I laugh because I think it's like every so many $100 you get a dime. And I'm like, oh my god, that's so stupid. But you got to have a little in the bank, But it's they don't give you nothing. But that's why I do what I do, and precious metals and you know properties, homes. I just put my money elsewhere. But, silver and gold definitely need to calm down because it's gonna get to a point where we're not gonna be able to cash in on it.
No doubt. So I just so there's um frick man, the tube of quarters, real bullion. It's freaking. The hell did I just see? Let me close this out real quick. It's with the
It's like
e-check
400
or
bucks,
wire. It's
450.
45.13 a dollar face.
How
Man,
much?
that's uh $45.13
Per dollar.
for a dollar. Yeah,
What's the total? Um, what's the total, price? What's it say if you add 10 phase?
10 face is
Yeah, 10 phase. What's
yeah,
the
it'll
total
be 10
price?
face. Oh,
Rule Stacker, what's up, man?
oh shit! I don't know why it went to 20. Let me. So $10 space of 90%, man, is $469.
$469. Trying to figure it out. I want to get my calculator up, but I don't want it to um, screw
Man,
me up
that
here
is
on the strain.
wild.
So I want to figure out per ounce what it's going for. So you have a calculator by you?
Uh, I don't. I got this dang laptop, but I don't know. I don't know where the calculator is on it.
Yeah, I don't wanna click off because 'cause I'll screw it all up, but,
Yeah, don't yeah.
yeah, I don't think that's such a great deal right now. 90% like,
No.
the online dealers, the problem is they're doing these offers, "Oh, a dollar under spot on 90%." You can get like I told you, man, I just bought, what was it? It gotta be a month ago now, but I bought those mercury dimes when silver was at 51 per ounce. I bought those mercury dimes for 36.26 per ounce. I spent like
Yeah.
$14 under spot on 90%. So I bought it was 35 ounces, a little over 35 ounces, and I paid $12.95, $1,295. Now, if I were to sell that for spot at that time, that's like it would have came out to a little over 1,800 bucks. So I saved like $600, $500 to $600 buying 90%. So don't like if you guys want to buy 90% and get it cheap, yeah, the one under spot looks good online. But if you have a coin shop locally, or if there's coin shows that happen locally by you, you can buy it so much cheaper. 90% right now, you can get really cheap, really cheap.
I would probably try it, and we don't really have coin shows here, but if y'all do, like Rural Stacker says that they're still afraid of 90% right now because they're new to stacking. I would definitely hit up a coin show like on the last day.
Yeah,
Because
that's
the last thing the dealers want to do is sit there and have to pack all that stuff back up,
yeah,
and yeah, they would probably give you a pretty good deal on that 90% right now. And I
absolutely.
wouldn't be afraid of 90%, man. It's
No,
one of the best ways to add, to stack,
I can
especially if
understand.
you're on a limited income.
Hey, what's up, Jeff LaFave? Guys, if you're interested in some vintage silver at some great prices, hit up Jeff LaFave. He's Vintage Varieties. Vintage Varieties is his company's name, and he deals in everything vintage silver. Hey, West Texas, you want to show that Hoffman coin again?
Yeah. Yeah. At a pretty cool, this guy's awesome in the community, and actually sent him an email. Want to know if he would want to do like a little live stream like we're doing, and
Hmm.
do like a little interview. He wouldn't have to show himself, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. But you see
he
that
said he'll
beautiful.
pass on that, but
Yeah, some people are camera shy, man. Ain't nothing wrong with that. It's just some people are kind of private with stuff like that. But
but
you
I
see
mean
that
that is
beautiful Hoffman coin right there? Round, I should say. That
that
if
is
you want some
absolutely beautiful.
if you want some of that beautiful vintage, especially like Hoffman, hit up Vintage Varieties, Jeff LaFave. We're also doing a little me and Jeff, we're gonna do a little vintage series where we're gonna talk about a vintage mint, specific mint. Um, we haven't figured out if it was going to be weekly or every other week or whatever, but we're going to do a little vintage reviews and stuff. That should be
Yeah, that's
fun.
cool. That would be cool,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, yeah, man. Get more people. There's a lot of vintage stackers in our community, but it teaches people, about what's rare, what's not rare, what's well, I should say what's rare and what's rarer.
Yeah,
What's a good price point? Where can you get it? Just when it was made, where it was made. Everything. I mean, like for example, Engelhart. I mean, they made Engelhart. Engelhart ruled the world from the '60s to the '90s. They made Engelhart in the West Coast and in Jersey, which was like their main hub there. They made it in England, Australia. It was all over the world, and
yeah,
they made a lot of other stuff for like industries and stuff. I think someone had a Engelhart dental caps or something, dental tools or something. It was crazy, but yeah, they were a big company. But I want to go back to Rural Stacker there. He says, I'm a little afraid of 90% right now. Guess I'm too new to stacking. And I can understand where he's coming from. There's a lot of people in the community right now that are really talking down on 90% silver right now. They're really scared of it and blah 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 blah, and don't buy it. You're not going to be able to sell it, or you're going to get hit on it. 90%, and whoever, I'm going to explain it right now. With 90%, this has happened before. When I first started stacking silver 12 years ago, 90% had no premium. If I wanted cheap silver, even though silver was cheap then, but if I wanted cheaper silver, I would buy 90%. There was no premium. And then all of a sudden, it got very popular. I'd say 2 years into my stacking journey, the last 10 years, it's been so popular. 90% became a very high premium choice, where the premiums were, you know, they got up there, and it became so popular, especially amongst prepper stackers and stack collectors and stackers that just want to get weight, and also for vintage stackers. I mean, 90%, like we talked about, is like the number one vintage vintage silver, right? Because it dates back to the 1700 late 1700s. But 90%, it's done it before. I seen it go from no premium to high premium to no premium. The only reason now that it's, people are talking down on it is because the refineries are picky right now. And if silver was at, the price that it is today, and if I was a refinery, I would be picky too. I wouldn't want to spend all that money on solvents to, separate the silver from the other 10% of the coin. I wouldn't want to have to go through all that extra step. You know what I mean? So yeah, I would be doing the same thing. So right now they're picky. They're picking three nines fine, four nines fine. But 90%, it'll bounce back. It'll be high in premium again. It'll be extremely popular. And another great thing with 90%, you're killing like three birds with one stone. You're stacking silver weight. You're getting it cheaper than any other bullion out there right now. And not only that, you're getting vintage and numismatic value coins. And even in your circulated coins, another 50 years from now, your common circulated mercury dimes are going to be even harder to find. And those common dates will become rare dates because through more years that pass, there's going to be less and less 45s, 44s, 43s, 42s. 90%, is a sleeping giant. Give it a few more years, and then a few more years after that, a few more, you're going to wish you had a bunch of 90%. Plus, like me. Yeah. Yeah. It's exactly, and, here's another argument. All right. They're getting picky. The dealers don't want it. Don't buy 90% because they're going to hammer you when you go to sell. They're hammering you now when you're going to sell at these dealers because they're
Yeah.
paying $4 or $5, $6, $10 back on your bullion. They're paying, $4 or $5 back on your Eagles, which silver Eagles, you always got spot or $1 or two over spot or more. Your
Yeah.
generic silver, you would always get spot or $1 under spot. Now they're paying you back. So say you get into silver, right? And I don't recommend anybody do this, but you get into silver today and you buy it at 65 an ounce, right? You go to say, all right, silver hasn't moved or anything. Next week you sell it. That's 65. They're gonna offer you, 60. Now you don't get into silver, or gold for the short term. You get in and hold it and you save your money and you put your savings into it and you hold it for the long term. But they're buying bullion, regular bullion, three nines fine, four nines fine, back way back a spot. No difference in 90%. The only difference is, the refineries aren't liking the 90%, so the coin shops don't want to, they don't really send it to them. They don't like sending it to them because it's, they don't, the refineries aren't giving them what they want. But 90%, it's a great, if you want to buy silver cheap now with these current prices, um, the cheapest silver would be 90%. And I'm not talking like in slabs, I'm talking circulated Morgans, piece dollars, half dollars, quarters, dimes. Um, 90% is just, I've been buying it for 12 years straight. And I'll tell you something, the last month and a half here, that's been, a go to silver of mine, 90%, uh, 10-ounce, 5-ounce bars and vintage silver. That's where I've been, going down. I've been buying that. But yeah,
Yeah.
I don't, don't let these people scare you at the 90%. And another thing too, if you're in it to hold it and you have no plans of selling your silver for a while, you know what I mean? Now it's the perfect time to buy it. Now, if you're up in age and you're about, or you say, hey, you know what, I've stacked for 10 years, I want to get out. Or if you're up in age and you've stacked your whole life and now you want to get out, yeah, I wouldn't recommend buying any 90% now because yeah, you're probably gonna, you know, got not get the number you want. But if you're gonna hold it for a while, you know what I mean? And you're not planning to sell it for another 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 years. Well, buy it. You can stack it because you're gonna regret if you don't. And I tell anybody that 90% is the OG silver. Plus, it's another good thing. And I'm not a prepper stacker. I don't believe in silver and gold for prepping. And people might get upset, but I'm just not a prepper stacker. I prep, but I don't stack the prep. I mean, I have it if I need to use it for prepping in a situation like that, but I don't stack for that reason. But if 90%, it's more recognized by like non-silver stackers than silver bullion because
Yeah.
most people know that our currency used to be silver and gold, 64 and below. Everyone knows a silver quarter and a silver half dollar. Plus it's got US backing. Maybe it's not, it's still US currency. It's not, current, they don't make anymore, but it's still US currency. It's backed by the United States. So, you know what I mean? It's liquid, and plus you don't see many people faking 90%. You don't see people faking, a $4 dime or $10 quarter or $22 half dollar. I mean, it's one thing, you get some Carson City key dates, yeah, you get people faking these, $1,000 coins, but um, people don't really fake the 90%.
No, I mean, they would probably be losing money trying to do that.
That's what I'm saying. The amount of work they have
Yes.
to do to fake a mercury dime to get it the right size, the right weight, the right look for a
The
five
right
dollar
look would
coin.
be hard. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm
So
saying.
I looked up on the Walmart app, um, a tube of dimes, Roosevelt dimes, 90% Roosevelt dimes from
250, right?
AppMex, 245
Yep.
per tube. That's wild. I mean, when I started, and you know what? Everybody says, if you could go back and start stacking, would you? And I would definitely add more 90% earlier
Yeah.
into the stack because I was paying $1.80 a dime back then. So it was a little less than $100 for a tube,
Yeah.
you know? I
Yeah. It's
mean,
crazy.
and
I remember.
now to just say call it 250, man.
Yeah.
250
Yeah.
bucks for a tube of dimes.
And that's crazy.
Wow.
10-ounce bar. A 10-ounce bar was about 250, 270 if just a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
A 10-ounce silver bar. Now, mind you, a tube of dimes roughly, is 5 phase, 50 dimes, a tube, roll, or whatever you want to call it, is 3.575 ounces, roughly.
Yeah.
Mercury dimes might be a little less because there's more wear. Barber dimes, you're lucky if you get 3 ounces. But you know, the rough estimate is 3.15, so 3.5 ounces of silver, $250. And that's, at Mex, they're expensive, but like that's a silver dime right now is almost at $5 a dime.
Yeah.
5 times it's 250. That's melt price. It's probably at like 480 right now, but it's pushing $5 a dime. I remember buying tubes of mercury dimes for $80.
Hmm.
$80. It was me and Silver Gold Stack Attack 2 years ago in Virginia. We went to I went down to Virginia. He lives in North Carolina, so he drove 3 hours up, and me and the family and him, we stayed a week up in Virginia Beach. That was a fun 7 days, but we checked out all the coin shops, and there's tons of coin shops in Virginia Beach. There's Silver Eagle Coins and Collectible. There's Candle Coins, bunch of coin shops, and we went around, man, and I remember I was buying tubes of mercury dimes. Again, this was 2 years ago for 80, I think it was 80 or 89, $81. And now here you go. You got a tube of mercury dimes is practically the price of a 10-ounce silver that 10-ounce silver bar,
Yeah.
2 years ago. But I mean, that's online prices. Right now at your coin shops, you can probably get tubes of dimes for probably, I mean, if dime right now is roughly at $5, you could probably get them as far back as four to maybe 350 per dime. I mean that you can get some really good deals on 90%. And for all you people that are also changing up your strategies, you can't stack as much now because of the higher prices. Now now's the time you can say, hey, listen, I only got $50 to spend. Well, I can't even get an ounce with $50. Well, you can walk into the coin shop and buy two $half.
$2.50. Yeah.
Yeah, that's $40 roughly. You go buy a few dimes, or if you have, enough for an ounce, buy $1.40. Buy $1.40 and 90%. It's a great way, especially now if you don't have enough money to buy an ounce that week, but you say, hey, you got 30, $40 to spend, $50, go buy some 90%.
Well, one of the things, especially right now on a budget, is, and with the price the way it is, it's psychological, man. It doesn't.
Yeah,
Sure, it doesn't feel as walking out of the coin shop with $1 in your pocket. You know,
yeah,
it doesn't feel as good. When
it's
you're used to
definitely.
walking out with 5, 10, 7 ounces every time, and now you're walking out with $2.50. You're just like, man, what happened to me?
Did you
Where did
listen
I
to my
go
phone
wrong?
call earlier?
What's that?
Did you listen to me and Silver Gold Stack Attack's phone call earlier?
No.
We talked for like, maybe 25 minutes, and it's like we touched all these topics. It's crazy. We were talking about that too. It's psychological. It messes with your head. 100% what you said, man. Like 2 years ago, not even a year ago, you walk in with $300, you walk out with a 10-ounce bar. Now you walk into a coin shop, you got to have about $700, 650, $700 to walk out with a 10-ounce bar.
Yeah.
So I like kind of trained my brain to look at 5 ounces as 10-ounce bars. So now when I buy a 5 ouncer, 320, 330, all right, but it's still, it's crazy. Just before I left YouTube a year and a half ago, before I took that long ass break, um, I was ordering 5, 6 tubes of Eagles at a time to fill up my monster box. And I was telling him, I said, I spent like, they were like 600 a tube. I spent like, I think it was like $2,800, and I walked out with like 6 tubes or 5 or 6 tubes of Eagles. And that's when the premiums dropped crazy on Eagles. They were like went from 10 over spot to like $3, $4 over spot. So I started, back on the Eagles. And it was, and now you walk in with the coin shop and you got, 2,800 bucks. You're lucky if you walk out with, 30 ounces, a little over a kilo of silver bar. It's crazy, man.
You can
It,
get
it's
right now. You can get 5 random year Eagles on Walmart at the Walmart site for $354. Oh man, hey, me and the wife did that a few times from Walmart, and it all the Eagles came from
Coin exchange.
Bullion Exchange, and they're all the same date,
Hey,
but
check
it was
Stacker.
like 100 and what was it 100 and something dollars, man. It wasn't very much,
20
it
bucks.
wasn't like outrageous. And for pretty much for 5 ounces of silver, they want $354 for it.
Dude,
Oh
it's
man.
insane. It's insane. It really is. It's insane. It's definitely psychological. I had to
I
change
mean,
up my strategy too, big time, man.
this is one I wouldn't do. And let's see who the third party shipper is. It is AppMex. They're doing a random year cold condition 1 ounce silver eagle for $73. Holy smokes, man!
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Check this out.
Golly. Ah, that's beautiful.
Let's see if I can zoom in. Man, the picture's all messed up. Ah, come on.
Wow, dude, that's
Dude, I
nice.
love these. I love these. This is the 5 ounce I picked up this week from Vintage Varieties. Jeff
Nice.
LaFave. This is a vintage MG Crown. I call these the original Kit Kat bars.
Yeah,
And because this is it's a Kit Kat shape,
yeah,
and you don't really see Kit Kats much. Scottsdale pretty much you know Scottsdale pretty much gave it a made the Kit Kats famous, but MG
yeah.
Crown was the inventor of the Kit Kats. This mint dates back to like the 1960s. Yeah, 999 fine silver, and then you have this is lot 5681. But dude, this is an awesome bar.
That is an awesome bar, and it's that's a solid 5 ounces, huh? That's not an odd weight.
No, solid five
Yeah,
ounce. Yeah, these
solid
are
5 ounces.
these are pressed. They
Yeah.
weren't poured. They were pressed.
Oh, okay.
So or cast. I guess you can
Yeah.
say. Um, let me show you here. What's my face? Oh, see that pimple there? I gotta pop that. That pimple's bad, man.
Dude, I like some of the bars you picked up that you've been showing, man. Those odd ounce, those odd weight bars, man. Those odd weight vintage bars are
dude.
just awesome, dude.
I love the odd weights, man. I love the
I
odd
know.
weights. But I'll show you this one here. Look at that.
Oh yeah,
That
yeah. See, that's yeah,
dude, I love Star Metal. They are like my favorite vintage bar as of lately. The Star Metals and then MG Crowns, and then of course Engelhart. But Star Metals, dude, oh dude, that's just a beautiful bar. But here's an odd
yeah.
weight, 5.4. troy ounce. And then look at the back. See the
Yeah.
cracks, the unevenness. This might be cast too. I'm pretty sure it's poured. But you see how like there's no ripples, there's no lines.
Jeff says he's got a match for you of the 10 ounce.
I know he's got the 10-ounce star medal. Uh, I'm gonna probably gonna sell from next. I gotta get a good price on that, Jeff. Gotta get a good price on it. And then yeah, these I'm gonna get a few more 5 ounces of these off you, and then I'm gonna get some more. I'm gonna get some 10 ounces of these. Um, I have a few Star Metal bars, but you never have enough,
Yeah.
And I have a few MG Crowns, but you can never have enough of the vintage stuff. I mean, this stuff too. I mean, it's just the more years that go by, the more older it gets.
You know,
But
and this would be like my question to Jeff is, I have that Spokane Bullion Ink bar.
oh, if you have some of your vintage bar, bring them out. Jeff will look
Yeah,
at
I know.
bring out that
I
one you
got they're
had
still in
there.
the safe. I got to dig them out, but it's 4.75 ounces, and all Engelhard says that there was, I don't know, less than 100 of them, I guess. So my question would be something like that. How would I determine a price if I ever wanted to sell it?
He'll be
Because
the guy to
got
answer
it.
you.
I got it for $1 over spot. He was just like, "Here, dude, just a." Because and we've talked about this to a lot of coin shop dealers. There are a lot of coin shops. They're the owners. Silver is silver, so you know they don't really care if it's vintage or not.
Yeah, yeah, that's why it's such a great time um to buy. You can find some great deals on vintage right now, especially at coin shops because they treat it all equally.
Yeah,
Most coin shop you get some coin shops that will ask the premium because they know what they have, and they want to make what they can make on it, and that's perfectly fine. But now with the prices so high, with the silver price, that these coin shops, like I said, they're buying these. People are bringing in tons of this stuff, and they don't have a market for it right now, so they're selling it for a few dollars over spot or spot price
yeah,
just to move it. But Jeff said three factors drive vintage pricing: mintage, frequency, and
desirability.
desirability. Yep. Check out this one here. This is another favorite one of mine of recently. I bought this for spot price. And look at the cool thing here. I'm going to show you the serial number. So it's oh my god, I can't even. It's the first series, so it's serial A. So it's the first one, and it's
Uh huh.
00687. So this is a 687 bar. I mean, it's a 10 out. That's a lot of bars, but for a lot of bars, you see, you get bars and they'll be in the 3,000s, 4,000. This is the first series of the bar, and it's 687. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
That is cool. Yeah, but like you said, the for those that are one that are new to this that don't want to stack in 90%. I mean, that's vintage. You know,
Standing Liberty Quarter.
yeah. Hell, I don't even know what year that is.
I think it was 26, right? 25. What did it say on there?
2019, 20 something. But yeah, I mean that's vintage quarters, man.
What was that
And I
other
hope
bar you said you got? You showed it on your video a few times. What the hell was it? You got it. I think it was like 4 or 5 ounces.
Oh heck, that might
It's a
have been
vintage one.
that same one, that Spokane Bullion Ink.
Spokane
The
Bullion
only
Ink.
other one that I really have that's kind of, distinguishable from any other is that kilo, that Silvertown kilo bar. But
Yeah.
I've had uh multiple different, different answers, or, um all Engelhard said that more than likely was a newer bar.
Yeah, I
I've had
think
other
I
people.
did the research, and I
Yeah.
think that bar, like I told you, was from the with the searches I've seen, the prospector design came out from Silvertown in
Yeah.
the early to mid 70s. And then that style of kilo, see, Silvertown's hard to track.
Uh-huh.
It's hard to track, because they had stuff from Engelhart that Engelhart made for them. And, they were all over the place. But I think that kilo bar you have is from the 70s. From the
So,
early mid late 70s.
I actually emailed Silvertown a picture of it, and they said that they don't really have any way of keeping track of, what they've made, but that it more than likely was an older one. That's all they could tell me.
Well, at least they said that. At least they said
Yeah.
it's an older one. But yeah, they're hard to track, man. Silvertown's definitely they're definitely tricky. Especially too with the the what really screwed them up. And I'm not 100% against revising some vintage stuff if you do it right. Like Jeff Lefave, he revised a lot of the Tombstone. And the good thing about what he did there, and we were talking about this, is that if you want a real Tombstone vintage bar,
Yeah.
you're going to pay in the thousands. And then some of those bars, they only made, you know, one or two, or, within, low digits. So he made some so more vintage stackers can be able to have it in their stack. They're not, vintage. They're not, they're not you know, the the real Tombstone bar, but they're the closest thing you're going to get to the real Tombstone bar without spending the thousands of dollars to get one. So certain bars, certain vintage revising is good, but then you
Hmm.
have, like I said, you have Silvertown when they revised, a lot of their um, towards old style silver. They flooded the market, and now you run in that problem like you did. Oh, do I have an vintage Silvertown bar, or a kilo bar, or is this a revised vintage, you know, a fake vintage Silvertown bar? Like, what is it? Because they flooded the market. And it's the same thing when Asahi bought out the Johnson Matthey name, and they started doing the Johnson Matthey pours, which you see everywhere now. You know,
Yeah.
yes, they're real silver. Yes, it's the Johnson Matthey name, but it's not the vintage Johnson Matthey. You know what I mean? Now, if you go the route like uh, Jeff did with the Tombstones, or like the new Engelhart that they're coming out, revising the new Engelhart, at least there's signs to say, hey, this is a replica. Hey, this is not the original, but it's the closest thing you're going to get to getting the original. So, but it's ways of doing it. If you're going to go around it a sketchy way like Silvertown and Asahi and Johnson Matthey did, um, it's gonna come back and bite you in the ass. But if you go about it the right way, like the Engelhart, revising and what Jeff's doing, it's different.
Yeah, Jeff, that kilo bar, it does say fine on it. FINE. And do have one 5 ounce retro bar that says FS. But you know, you're right though that them remaking the prospector rounds and the Johnson Matthey bars, man, I didn't really care for that move much at all, but I think it's going to confuse a lot of people into not knowing exactly what they have.
Well, with the
But
Engelhart,
in
the new
20, 20 years from now, 25 years from now, those prospector rounds that they put out to, this year,
will be vintage. Yeah,
they're going to be vintage.
yeah, and the prospector rounds from the 1980s will be even more vintage, and even
Yeah.
be even a bigger price. But yeah, me and you were talking about this, and me and Jeff were talking about this. I have mixed feelings with the revising of certain vintage brands. But if it's ones that are very expensive, where the majority of stackers and collectors won't shovel out that money, but they want that piece, then they go to the replicas, which is a great. But then if you go down that route, like Johnson Matthey with this when Asai bought him out, and uh, and they're pushing out, and Silvertown pushing out these bars that are very similar, pretty much identical to these vintage bars. They're flooding the market. But like, I was upset when Engelhart just recently revised the prospectors and the smaller 3 ounce and 2 ounce bars, and um, the gold. But when I started looking into it, they're all dated.
Yeah.
There are signs to say, "Hey, this is not real Engelhart." Well, it's vintage. It's not vintage Engelhart. This is a reamp, a revised. At least they dated it. Their certificate of authenticity versus Johnson Matthey, Asahi's route, and versus what Silvertown did. So I'm not so against the whole revised Vanguard. I wouldn't buy any of it. I don't. Because I'm a clearly I buy vintage. If I want Engelhart, I'm buying original Engelhart. Um, I'm not going to buy like the revised Engelhart, but for the people that don't have you know 50 $70 for a prospector, they could probably get a newer one for at the right place, probably for a little cheaper. I don't know. Especially like the what they did the I seen it the Liberty bars, the Engelhart Liberty bars. They did
Yeah.
the revise of the 1 ounce, 5 ounce, and 10 ounce. Um, you go buy those. You can get them cheaper buying the for the people that can't afford the originals. You can get them a little cheaper buying the revised, as long as they do it the right way. It's they just got to let people know. Because I know there was a guy that tried selling me. He says, "Oh, I got 10 ounce silver towns, and vintage silver towns." I said, "Awesome." And I said, "Send me pictures." And he sent me pictures, and I knew right off the bat. I said, "Dude, these ain't vintage. These are newer Silvertown, revised Silvertown bars. They're not
Yeah.
vintage." And he's like, "Oh man." I was like, "Yeah, I mean, they're still silver. They're still Silvertown. They're still real, but they're not vintage." You know. So I didn't end up buying them, but you just got to know what you're doing, I guess. But
Mrs. got this in the mail today.
mm, uh,
I said, why'd you get that? I don't think she's ever ordered anything from the mint.
dude, they send all types of stuff. When I was in Virginia, we don't have cable here. I have streaming services. That's how I watch TV here.
Yeah.
Netflix, YouTube TV, and all that. Um, so I don't have cable. But while we were in Virginia, in the timeshare we were staying at, they have cable. So, I was scrolling through the channels and I realized how much I missed, some of these channels. But
Yeah.
one it was called the Coin Vault. They were selling coins, you know, and I was just laughing. I'm like, man, this is so pathetic. They were selling walking half dollars for $50 a piece. 1 gram gold bars. They were like, oh, two payments of $150, and this one out of 500 gold. I think it was like a Sioux Nation or some type of Indian reservation gold. It was like a
Yeah.
1/20th an ounce, and they're like, oh, it's so many. Uh, 2 or 3 payments of $200 or something. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, how are they able to, like you go to a gas station, right?
Uh-huh.
Cigarettes are, they have to be sold at a state minimum, right? They're regulated. Gas
Yeah.
has to be pretty much sold at a state minimum. You can differ your gas prices by a few cents, what I mean, for competition, but it has to be in that bracket. Well, gold and silver should be, how could, these people out here, you get some of these, people on TV, and obviously it's not it's the buyer, you have to do your due diligence, but older people look get on the phone and they love buying stuff off those TV channels. And they're thinking they're getting a smoking deal and they just spent $100 on a freaking Walking Liberty common date half dollar. If
Yeah.
they walked into a coin shop, they could have bought it for 20 bucks. But I was just amazed. I was like, how is this even allowed? How is this legal? How can you go to sleep at night knowing you just scammed some 90-year-old freaking grandmother? You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
crazy.
there was a guy that came into the coin shop on Saturday, and he was saying, he was telling me that his mom passed away, and that he wanted to know how much these coins that he had were worth, because she would just buy, and she would see it on the TV and just buy it.
Yep.
And I was like, "Oh man, I'm sorry, dude." He's like, everybody tried to warn her, but she wouldn't stop buying, he said.
Yep. It's crazy. They just I don't know. It's just unbelievable how they can get away with some of that stuff. But you know, you got to do your due diligence, I guess. But I don't, and then you get these catalogs they send you in the mail. Like, what is a few of them? What's Hamilton something, and then there's these,
Yeah.
they send you these catalogs, right? And then you go on the website, and they sell everything, from clothes to statues, and then they have the silver coins and stuff, and they're selling Morgan dollars for $100, and it's crazy. It's crazy. And then a lot of the stuff, I remember it was like an anniversary silver eagle, right? And it
Uh-huh.
and you and it was like I started reading it, and my friend was gonna order it. He was gonna buy it for me. And he's like, "What do you think of that?" And I was like, it was like a Christmas gift." I was like, "No, dude, read that." It said 39 fine silver, right? Small
Yeah.
print, 39 fine silver plated.
Oh yeah.
They were selling silver plated false advertising saying it was 39 fine silver, but on the small writing, it was 39 fine plated. Never heard anything like that in my life. And they were selling that coin. And this was like 2, 3 years ago. Silver was like 25 an ounce, $20 an ounce. They were selling it for like 79 bucks or something.
Yeah. No, I've seen a couple of those ads. I've actually run across a couple of those ads on YouTube
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
fake coins, slabbed fake coins. You
Dude, you
know,
ever order any fake stuff from Timu?
no, no, but I should.
Dude, silver gold stack attack ordered quite a bit of. probably 10 pieces at least, 10 1 ounce Eagles. It was like bars, replicas of these other, famous mints. They
Yeah.
were all fake, and he knew that. They were selling them for like $4, a piece. But he ordered it for a video idea.
Uh-huh.
Dude, some of them you could tell right off the bat, but some of them were so damn close. If it wasn't for the testing it on
Yeah.
the Pinger or the Sigma, um, it would have fooled the regular eye. Even the weight was perfect. It was insane. Some of these fakes, man. Dude, another, the Sound Money pocket pingers,
Yeah.
for Shad, Sound Money Metals.
Yep.
When you buy the pack, he'll send you a fake Walker, a fake Peace Dollar, and a fake Morgan. Now he wrote copy on them. He stamped copy on them, so they're fake. But the detail and the size of those, they're great fakes. If there wasn't a copy on it, you bring that to a coin shop. Most of the time, they wouldn't even test it.
Yeah.
Especially if you're bringing in like a single Morgan, or a single Peace Dollar. If there wasn't the word copy on it, they probably wouldn't test it, and they would just give you money for it. That's how good it looks. Like some of these fakes are crazy, man.
Yeah, it's scary. It's scary, especially when you start seeing fakes of things that even a couple years ago you wouldn't see them. Like the common ones were the eagles, maples,
A lot of
kangaroos,
sunshine,
yeah, sunshine mint,
Silvertown.
bar- yeah, those. But now they were faking generic buffalo rounds.
Oh, and there's going to be more fakes coming up now because of the price of silver.
Yeah.
And they're going to get better. They're going to get better at making fakes. There's going to be more fakes coming around now because of the price of silver. If they were faking that much when silver was 20 an ounce, what are they going to go? What lengths are they going to go through to fake it when silver's at 70? You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
There's going to be
Yeah.
a lot more fakes coming out.
No matter
And they're going to
how
get,
no matter how many times people, make a video about how to spot fake silver or, at least what sites to stay away from, they
yeah.
people are still gonna go, they're still gonna go to Timu and buy it.
Well, that's why people got
Oh,
to do their due diligence. And usually, if it's
yeah.
too good to be true, it's too good to be true. And you can't tell everybody. And even though I recommend everybody, every stacker, big time stacker, someone that's going to stack for a long time and that's going to put some serious money into precious metals, I recommend everyone owning a Sigma metal verifier. You
Yeah.
can buy the smallest one for, not the smallest one, but the basic model, which does everything you need it to do. You don't need to buy the Pro, which is $2,500. But the basic model with the wands, you can buy it for $1,099 and 99, 1,100 bucks on eBay. And I know that's a lot of money, and a lot of people can't afford that. But if you plan on putting all this money into precious metals and stacking, it's good to have one. It is good to have one, especially if you're doing a lot of side deals, with, bullion dealer, not maybe guys that sell bullion. Like I deal with a lot of people that don't have coin shops. They
Yeah.
just travel to coin shows. And, I trust them and I meet up with them in secure locations and at their house and stuff. And they throw the stuff on their Sigma or I'll bring mine, but I trust them, but it's good if somebody on marketplace, they're having a good deal, selling some 10-ounce bars, you know, for spot or 5-ounce bar or whatever, and you're going to meet that person. You want to have that peace of mind. It's like
Yeah.
insurance for your insurance. You know what I mean? Your precious metal, your stacks insurance, right? It's having insurance on your insurance. We insure our house, we insure our vehicles, we insure our health. Why not insure our stack with a Sound Money metal verifier, Sigma metal verifier? And if you can't afford that, you can obviously, get a $30 scale, get a pocket pinger. That's good for coins and 1 ounce bars. Also for Shad from Sound Money Metals, he's working on a bar tester for like 10-ounce bars, kilo bars. It's like a platform.
Yeah.
It looks like a hockey puck that you balance your bar on it and you hit it with the stick. But he's been working on that for a few years. That should be coming out soon. I know he ran into some problems, but that'd be good. And then you can do the water test, the magnet test. But
Yeah.
those are all good testing, especially if you don't have the money and you don't want to spend the money on the Sigma. But eventually, I recommend every big stacker to get a Sigma metal verifier, because they're just good to have. It's smart to have, especially if you're big into stacking. It's one thing if you got a few ounces and you're buying a little here and there, and you can just go to your coin shop to test stuff. That's fine. But if you're like me and you're buying all over the place, finding the deals, searching around, it comes in handy, dude. I bring that thing everywhere I go.
Yeah, the same with like well, it all starts with buying from somebody that's reputable.
Yep.
And that's why, for the last going on 2 years now, I've only bought from the LCS, man, from the coin shop.
Yeah.
And I know it's
He'll
tested, and if it's not,
he'll
and I
he'll
ever
make
go to
good on
sell
it.
it back to him, man, I'm telling him, well, I bought this shit from you, so
Yep. Well, that's the thing. You got to buy from reputable dealers.
yeah,
And unfortunately, there is a lot more scams out there. I was talking to Jeff the other day before he invited me to other Facebook precious metal groups that I wasn't, a part of. So I joined these groups. And I told him, I said, I was big into Facebook groups and I bought from a lot of Facebook groups. But when I took that break for a while, I took a break from YouTube for a year. I had personal family problems and I had my uncle had cancer. Me and my wife was on the verge of divorce. There was a lot of issues going on, with the
yeah,
family. My wife lost both of her grandmothers. It was 2025 was a terrible year. So, we took a break and, I also took a break from Facebook. I actually deleted my Facebook and I started a new one, you know, shit, 5, 6 months ago when was felt better and everything was getting better. I
yeah.
created a new Facebook. But so I had to start off with these groups again, get back invited because it's a new Facebook page. And I was just rampant with scams after
Oh yeah,
scams. People used to write, when they sold something, they would write their name and their date, and there would
uh
be the
huh,
silver item or the gold item. There would be the item, the date when listed, their name next to the date. None of the posts are those anymore. And these are pages that had, 50,000 people, 300 posts a day, big Facebook groups when it came to freshman. I bought so much from them, but they're all all those groups that I follow are scams. So I don't even, I tell these people, hey, the only way I'm going to prove this is not a scam is to listen. I'm a YouTube content creator. I'm very well known in the community. Here's my address. Here's my name. If you're legit, I'll buy something small off you, ship it to my house, and once it's delivered, I'll pay on delivery. And any reputable dealer, you know, starting off with somebody, they'll do that.
yeah.
I've done it plenty of times with other, people, especially, and, they're not sending you a 10-ounce silver bar, you know what I mean? But, say, hey, a tube of dimes. All right. You know, this is my, payment info. I'll ship it, or, and when you get to there, you pay them. Um, None of them want to do that. They don't even message you. And then they want you, instead of bidding the post, they want you to message them directly. So many scams now. So I got out of all those groups. Luckily, Jeff gave me a few good groups that so far I haven't seen any scams lingering around those. But yeah, you get a lot of scams on the groups now. You gotta stay away from. And it's just gonna get worse because the like I said, the prices are so high now. You think the fakes and the scams were bad 2 years ago. I mean, it's just gonna get worse.
I've
So
stayed. I've managed to. I'm in a couple of those Facebook groups, but I've managed to kind of stay away from them. As far as for buying, because of that right there, man. There was just some of the deals the post I see are you could tell that more than likely they're legit, especially with what they're asking for what they're selling.
Yeah.
It sounds about right, but for the most part, man, this guy's got like I saw a guy he had, oh man, probably just handfuls and handfuls of 10th ounce gold eagles
Hmm.
that he was trying to sell. And I was like, you know what, man, that just doesn't seem right. Something about the picture that he posted, he literally was holding a handful of 10th ounce eagles.
Yeah.
And I
And
was like,
another.
that just didn't seem
Oh yeah.
legit to me.
You'll see some of these pictures too. They'll post like I see on Instagram a lot too. You get like what is it? They're called Bullion Brothers, and they're
Yeah.
big in the community, right? Wall Street men or something, and they show these pictures, and it's got all this stuff in one picture, laid out on a table, all this vintage and stuff you wouldn't see anywhere else. You know what I mean? Just the dream stack, right? Oh,
Yeah.
we're selling on Discord. Follow us on Discord, WhatsApp, blah blah blah. And I'm like, man, this doesn't seem right. And another way too to find out if you find a seller when they take pictures of their items for sale, it should always pretty much be the same background. If they got a
Yeah.
brown table, right? If they got a brown table and you see 20 items on that same brown table with their name, their date, and the item, but then that they're legit. That's a good. You can't always go by that, but that usually means all right. They're good. They're consistent.
Yeah.
Now you see some of these groups and these people selling, and one's behind a white table, one's on marble, one's on granite, one's here, one's there. It's on different. Every picture's different background. You're like, all right, something's going on here. He's stealing pictures. And you can do Google search. You can copy and paste these pictures and find out if they're on the web. Um,
Yeah.
a lot of scams, man. A lot of scams. You gotta you gotta just do your due diligence, check around, and like it's nothing better than dealing with a reputable online dealer or a reputable coin shop or somebody that or or someone that can back up their stuff with proof,
Yeah.
just actions, but yeah, I mean I stepped away from a lot of these Facebook and Instagram pages, man. If I'm doing business with you starting off, most of the time I won't give you a dime until I know you're legit, and some of them, I'll say, we're all, like what I used to do with the Facebook groups. I would have the admin, that hold the money,
Yeah.
and then once the item was delivered, the admin would release the funds, um, or send it to, so and so. But, you're starting off, especially if you're going to spend some money, and you don't know this person and he's got no referrals or, you listen, you legit. All right. Send me an ounce of silver. Once it hits the door, I'll pay you and then we'll move on. You're legit. But they want you to message them directly. They want you because they don't want no proof on the comments, so they
On the
can't.
comments. Yeah.
Yep. But you just gotta watch out, do your due diligence.
Oh,
You know,
definitely, man. Hey, Transit, how's it going? I
hey, how you doing, man? Uh,
don't know
my
why my
phone.
throat just got real harsh, dude, because earlier today at work, I thought I was going to choke. I was
You know,
eating a handful of those chicharrones, man, and I freaking went to swallow and I inhaled a bunch of it.
oh, jeez. Oh man.
Oh,
Hey,
man.
Wes, my phone's about to die here.
Yeah, all
Got like
right,
two
man.
percent. But great stream as always.
Oh, as always, I think Saturday I picked up a pretty good little bonus check from work, so
Ooh,
I
that
think
means
I'm gonna
more.
go pick me up something
What do you think you're
something
getting?
nice.
What do you think you're gonna
But
get?
I don't know yet. I got to go look. I might just go for a little 1 ounce vintage bar or something,
There
or
you
see
go.
what he has.
You
I
never
mean,
know.
I ain't gonna beat around the bush about it, man. He has gave me some pretty nice Christmas gifts in the past.
Hey,
And I
maybe
mean,
when
I
you
ain't
go,
hoping for that, but
hey, you might go there and it might give you a 10-ounce vintage bar.
oh man. I mean,
You'd be skipping, man.
oh yeah.
Well, dude, look at that. You got a nice Christmas gift. Someone sent you that.
Oh, or,
That.
yeah, I already did. I got an amazing Christmas gift, man.
Yeah. Like I said,
Yeah, that's beautiful, dude.
that's $100 any day of the week right now. That round. I mean, that Hoffman round that you got
Yeah.
is one of the most common of the Hoffman, but
Yeah.
that generic that round right there, that vintage Hoffman, um, with silver at the current price today. That coin right there for the
Yeah.
right buyer, you'd be able to sell it between 125 bucks easy. Easy.
Yeah. Well, I think
It's
I'm
a
gonna just keep that one.
well, I would keep it too, but I'm just saying if
Keep it. Yeah. Keep it
yeah,
in the.
I would keep it in the deep stack. But I'm just
Yeah.
saying though, with that
Oh yeah.
he was nice sending that to you because that's a $100 coin.
Oh, yeah. Man, I'm still gleaming about it, man.
Yeah. And
I'm still gleaming about it.
even if it
Yeah.
was a generic round, that's $65. He
Yeah.
practically gave you 65 bucks. That's
That's
awesome.
good, man.
That's
All right,
awesome.
buddy. Well,
But all right, West man. I'll
we'll
see you
we'll
next Thursday,
oh
episode
yeah, we'll
4.
yeah.
Gonna
I'll
have
shoot
to
you a text tomorrow.
make a logo up for a show, man. We need to get our own
Yeah.
logo. Maybe
Yeah.
some
That'd be cool.
maybe some channel rounds.
Some stickers at least.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. All
All
right,
right.
man.
Thanks everybody for stopping in.
I'll catch you guys
Um,
on the next one.
we'll catch you next Thursday. And
Silver Bros out.
catch y'all later, man.
Peace.